Last Wednesday when I came in here, our guys hadn't practiced very well. I think this week I can see a little more sense of urgency. Our guys are taking things a little better from the meetings to the practice field and from period to period. We've got to finish. Right there at the end of the practice, had a couple of things that we'd been working on. We'd done really well, and then at the end of practice, didn't do it as well. So, got to learn to sustain. I think there's a lot of excitement. I know our guys are excited about the opportunity to play in this game. We're playing against a really good football team. It's very well coached. On offense, the quarterback, he can throw it a long ways, probably as far as any quarterback I've seen in a while. Got really good wide receivers. They're big up front, good backs. Defensively, they create negative plays. They're good at all three levels. They make you earn it. And on special teams, Swain's probably leading the country in punt returns. I mean, guy's dynamic. I think he's averaging 25 yards a return. I don't know where that is, but that's a whole lot. So speed on special teams, and then Coach Mullen's teams are always very well coached. They're physical, they're tough. So we'll have a big challenge for us, but we're looking forward to it.
Austin and Vince, Pastor. Coach, take me through the decision to move Kingston Harris, and what have you seen out of him through the first handful of days this week? And then two, Florida's been really good at blocking punts, and you guys have been pretty good with Joe Doyle through the first 3 games of getting them off. So do you adjust anything with what they do, or just kind of just keep doing what you do?
Well, I think, first thing with Kingston, as far as depth at offensive line, guys that are ready to compete and play in the SEC. When we lose Brandon, that was a big part. We really thought Kingston was doing well at defensive line, but when you look at our defensive lineman, he's probably the one guy that could make a transition and be able to help us just to create some depth. So we just felt like that it was something that we needed to do this week, for next week, and through through the off week. Last year we had a position where we lost 5 guys in 1 week's time. So you don't want that to happen anywhere to anybody, okay? But if something was to happen, you got to be able to move and function, and we want to make sure that we can get our best players out on the field. As far as Florida blocking punts, they're really good in the special teams. Dan's teams always have been. They're very creative in all phases. So, they'll block punts, they'll fake punts. They're good in return game. They got good athletes, got good scheme on the punt team, kickoff cover and kickoff return. So we've got to do a good job, and we got to find a way to create an edge in the kicking game.
Coach, 2 things. One, I know there's always competition at every position. Have you repped any other guys at punt return, and what's that competition like? And then also with the familiarity that you and your staff have for some of Florida's coaches, and then vice versa, Coach Sunseri, Coach Rump, how do you handle them knowing some inside stuff about you and you knowing some stuff about them? How do you manage that as a head coach?
Well, at punt return, there's no different than any other position. We've repped several guys back there, and Marquez dropped the ball the other day, but I have confidence in him. We sent him right back out there. He's our best punt returner, so and I believe he'll do a good job. So we'll continue to work guys behind him. As far as familiarity, it's really all over the league. So there, there's lots of guys that's worked on a bunch of different staffs. So we all know a lot of things that the other one likes to do, but at the end of the day, none of us are playing. It's the players that's going to play. It's our job to try to get them in position to give them the best chance to be successful, and that's what all of us will do.
Jeremy Alonte started the first game. He hasn't started the past 2 games, but he's obviously played a lot. Can you kind of, where is his development right now? Is consistency something that he's kind of having to work through on a week-to-week basis, preparing for games and things like that?
Well, Alonte was the best guy in practice when we played West Virginia, and then the last 2 weeks he wasn't. So it's no different in any other position. I think we've probably started different guys at other spots, so it's not that big a deal. I mean, he's a freshman. He started the first game as a freshman. That's a pretty big deal. He got to continue to work, and he will, and he has.
Steve and David.
You had said Saturday you needed to see more takeaways, that you didn't see enough of those against UTEP. How do you get a team to be proficient at forcing turnovers? Obviously, you've had a knack for it over the years, but how do you get a team to kind of have that personality?
Well, I mean, I've said this a lot. I really think that one of the first things is how you recruit. You want to recruit defensive players that play on offense. You know, those guys are used to having the ball in their hand. I mean, how many times Saturday did a ball hit our hands? You know, in the secondary, I thought we should have had 4 interceptions. We didn't. And then it's also there's a knack of guys stripping the ball. You know, you kind of, if they do it in high school, they're probably going to do it on Friday nights. I mean, on Saturdays. If they do it on Saturdays, they're probably going to do it on Sundays. But if they don't do it at any of those deals, they're probably not going to do it to the next level. I don't think it's real hard. Now, you can coach and try to do the best you can to teach them how to do it, and that's what everybody does. But just in my experience, seems like the guys who do it on Friday nights do it on Saturdays.
Jeremy, did you guys get out of this week healthy? Anybody that you think will be available on Saturday? And then also, when you talk about a sense of urgency, what does that look like in a practice? What do you see when you feel like you have a team that has that?
Well, I think it starts with meetings, you know. Everywhere I've ever coached, when you're sitting there in the meeting, and everybody has long meetings. You have to go through installs. You have to watch tape. You know, most of the guys who are the best players that I've been around, they're usually the ones sitting on the edge of their seats, asking the questions, okay? Not the ones that are leaned back in their chair with their arms underneath their shirts and just barely staying awake. So, you know, that has nothing to do with ability. That, to me, that has to do with want to and making the guys do it the right way, which we're learning to do that. Same way when you go on the practice field. You know, can you take what you learned in the meeting, all right? Do you have a fire, kind of a fire in your stomach to be the best that you can possibly be at whatever you're going to do? If we're going to do a drill, why do we not do the drill the best that we can possibly be? If we're going to do a walkthrough, same thing. You know, I mean, that's just, to me, that's kind of how I was raised. I think that's what you're supposed to do. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing it right. You know, so I think our guys are learning to do that. And I think if you do that every day, if you give your kind of do your best in everything that you do, you'll eventually create the right habits and the right makeup. You'll develop confidence, and you'll have a chance to be a good football player. We'll have a chance to be a good team and create a good program.
When you talk about meetings, is that something you can emphasize on the recruiting trail, or do you feel like you got to get them here and sort of teach that into them?
Well, I think a lot of folks, when they recruit guys, they sit down with them and meet with them, you know. And usually the ones that are playing with their phone probably are going to play with their phone when they get here unless you straighten them out. So you got to figure those things out in recruiting. That's some of the personality things.
Coach, a lot of young guys are playing. This is going to be the biggest game a lot of them have ever played in that kind of atmosphere. Do you worry at all about them being, you know, too hyped, too jacked up? And you talked to them about that at all at the start of the game? I
don't think this game's no different than the one we played last week. That game was big, just as big as any of them, because it was the last one we played. This will be a big game. The next one will be bigger. That's the way it works to me. You know, the field's going to be the same width, the same length. You know, I mean, we're going to call the same calls. They'll probably line up in similar things that we work on in practice. So this is when you have fun. You're supposed to have fun when you play. You do all this stuff year-round, train, eat right, go to school to create an advantage for yourself, and then you get a chance on Saturdays to do it. To me, it's why we do what we do.
With Tailback, you guys rotated 4 tailbacks for the last week. Is that something you envision to do kind of the rest of the season, or do you think as you guys enter SEC play, that rotation may get shortened a bit, just depending on, you know, who's the best back that day?
Yeah, I think it'll take all 4 guys to finish through the season. You know, I think you figure out who's performing at the highest level, and if they're close and they deserve to play, you give them an opportunity to play. If we have 4 guys that are deserving to play, we'll play 4 guys. If we don't, we won't. So it's up to the players to practice the right way, prepare the right way. So the coaching staff will have confidence in them to put them in the game.
You talked about Trey Flowers, kind of seeing that West Virginia game as a teaching moment for him when he played so well. What have you seen out of him the last couple of weeks, and what have you seen out of him this week on the practice field to make you believe he can maybe help you this Saturday?
Well, Trayvon has really good ball skills. He has the best ball skills on the team. He's very instinctive. He's got good toughness. Just not played a lot of ball. Hadn't played football since the 8th grade. Played last year for the first time. So now he's in the SEC, and he's at a place that we're asking a lot out of him in the back end. So he's learning. He's going to do nothing but get better. So.
But has it picked up the last week or so?
Yeah, I mean he works pretty hard every day. He's improving. He's got to me a very bright future.
Jeremy, what does it mean to you to have the 98 team back to be honored this weekend?
Well, I think it's a huge deal. I think it's huge for those guys who represented the university. They found a way. I mean, you think about it, as hard as it is, they were the best team in all of college football in 1998. And I think if you look back on it, I don't think they were picked at the beginning of the season. I don't know what they were ranked, but those guys came together. They created a team, an identity, played the right way, finished the year off with the national champions. And I think it's great for Tennessee. I think it's great for those guys. I hope those guys get around our guys, because the most important people to me in the program are the players, okay? The guys who worked, sweated, bled to build this university to what it is. And those guys done it at the highest level. So I'm excited that they're back. I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of the guys. I've met a lot of them. But I want them around our guys. I want them around our program. And hopefully some of what they had will rub off on the people around here.
Jeremy, a couple of the offensive players this week said that Jarrett Garantano has sort of grown in terms of being a more communicative leader, I guess. He's been more verbal. Have you seen him grow in that area, and what's his development been like as kind of stepping out and being that guy?
Well, all I know is what I've seen for the last 9 months. So I think Jarrett's no different than the rest of the players. I think the more he gets comfortable with the people he's around, the system that he's in, I'm sure he's gaining confidence in what he's doing. As he learns the system, he learns who we are. So that really don't surprise me. I think that's probably the case with anybody.
You've been around a lot of good football teams, and do you, in your opinion, does the quarterback need to be a real like a real verbal kind of leader, or can there be different kinds of guys who have success there? Well,
I think it's important that probably the quarterback position. I mean, hey, we've all seen it. We've seen teams that's been the best in the country, and it's been because of their quarterback, because he was a playmaker. When they needed it, he made plays. He made everybody else around him better. Okay. And then you've seen teams that's won championships that basically the quarterback didn't get them beat. Okay. So to me, I think probably the most important thing about the quarterback is he's got to understand his role, and he's got to be able to execute. He's got to be able to make the people around him better. And I think all of our guys are trying to understand that and do that.